Well, like we said, we're going to talk about the Tiger Woods of Minnesota. And before we do that, let's bring in Sam, our producer. Sam, in Minnesota, everybody loves their athletes. Everybody loves the Lindsay Whalens. She's an HOFer now. Everybody loves, the Stefan Diggs, even though he left. And so when the question was posed, you look at the Masters right now and the crowds. I know I tweeted out a picture that's 3Ron Johnson on Twitter of Tiger Woods teeing off. And I asked my followers, who would be able to tee off during this mayhem of people standing there? And the responses are hilarious. I mean, the number of people that said they would hit people in their junk, they would take out shins, kneecaps. One guy circled the mezzanine about 100 yards to the left that was watching a different green and said, those people aren't even safe when I'm golfing. And so I thought about the crowds. People, I saw somebody tweet that Tiger Woods doesn't move the needle. He is the needle when it comes to golf. And that's true. So the question was posed to me, in Minnesota, who moves the needle like that? And this is my problem. Randy Moss now, yes. So I think if you were to put Randy Moss in today's social media era, he never left Minnesota. He stayed a Viking his entire career. I think Randy Moss is there. But the fact that he left, he went on with Tom Brady. He went on to the Raiders. There's a little bit of a doubt in that. Yes, people love Randy Moss. Yes, he was great to see. You look at Torrey Hunter. You look at Adrian Peterson. I think some people are always going to look at Adrian Peterson after the fact. Like, yes, Adrian Peterson was must-see TV. But if there was an athlete I would say we would throw back in Minnesota right now, and they were about to play, and who would garner the most attention, I got a dark horse for you. Maya Moore. You got to think about this. She was the Lynx all-time everything. She is one of the best. She's the Michael Jordan on the court next to Diana Taurasi, who I guess would be Larry Bird. Or Sue Bird would be Larry Bird. Now, Sue Bird would be John Stockton. But when you think about Maya Moore and what she went through, the social justice, quitting to get her husband, well, at the time her friend, who she ended up falling in love with, out of jail because he was innocent. He ended up being innocent after the Innocence Project went through the evidence and found DNA that was not his. That if you look back on that, another man of color being wrongly convicted. And it's not just people of color as well. I mean, there are white people, black people. I mean, there are a lot of people that get convicted for committing a crime they did not commit. And so I think the simple fact, if Maya Moore were to come back and were to say, I'm going to strap these shoes up, I'm going to put the jersey on, I'm going to lace them up, I feel like she would move the needle for the simple fact of what is going to follow her. The crowds, the ESPN people wanting to know about her story and her husband being at the game and his the amount of attention he would garner, saying that she loved you enough to walk away from basketball, but now she's back. Just like if Jordan, when he sent that message out, I'm back. If Maya Moore were to do something like that, it would be historic, in my opinion. One more, I think, comeback to Minnesota would be if somehow Stefan Diggs ends up back in Minnesota. I think people would love to see that energy. I don't think it's always about greatness, because Tiger Woods is great, but also it's the story of him being hurt, coming back from a car accident, and all the things he's been through. I think that's what moves the needle as well. People just want to see, because I've always heard this. Every fan is not hoping you succeed. And I think that's where the Tiger Woods is too. There are a lot of people watching Tiger hoping he crumbles and hoping that he's a shell of himself. I think there would be some people out there that if that were to be Stefan Diggs coming back, there would be some people that he was never that good, blah, blah. And we'll get into that later with the Daily 3 about Justin Jefferson versus Stefan Diggs. But that's my person. I would say Maya Moore would move the needle in Minnesota. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, I like that because she's one of the greatest champions that this market has ever seen, arguably the best player in the league in her prime. The crazy thing about stars is they often start as heroes, and rarely are the endings not complicated. Think about Randy Moss. There was a trade. He came back. There was beef. He wasn't in really good standing with the organization. Kirby Puckett's career ended with an eye injury. He was forced to retire. Kevin Garnett still has bad blood with the organization. And even the ending of Maya Moore's career thus far with the Lynx, her motives were good, but it was complicated, right? It's hard to be a Tim Duncan or a Kobe Bryant where you literally go out on top with the same team you started no bad blood. That's hard to do. But the thing about Minnesota is we love the comeback story. And just like Tiger Woods, he had his transgressions. He took a break from the game due to injury, but people always stood by him and were willing to accept him back. And in Minnesota, they had open arms for KG. They had open arms for Torrey Hunter. They had open arms for Randy Moss when he circled back. So if Moore became the latest comeback story, yeah, that would move the needle. And people support the Lynx here in this town. My personal opinion, as someone who grew up watching sports in the 90s and 2000s, I'm not sure anybody had more of an impact on this town than Randy Moss. I think Randy Moss made this a football town single-handedly. And I think like no one created a roar more than Moss. So to me, he is the Tiger. He is the deity of Minnesota sports, at least in the modern era. But I like that Maya angle. That's pretty strong.
Yeah, and so when you think about, like you said, the way some of these careers ended, in my head, I mean, of course, I'm wearing an Avengers shirt, so it has nothing to do with DC. Don't think I don't know that, people. Marvel versus DC, I'm all in it. But I think Batman and the Joker said it best. I think it was when it was Two-Face versus Joker in that newest movie, and he said, or versus Batman, and he said, you either die a hero or you live long enough to become a villain. And I think that's where sports athletes are sometimes. You can either play and go out a hero, or you can play long enough to eventually become a villain. And I think that's the problem too, is some people go out injured. They die heroes in this game, like you said, Kirby Puckett. But Randy Moss, he kind of became a villain. People weren't, even though he didn't have anything to do with this trade. Stephon Diggs, he definitely became a villain. Like he's played long enough now. He's going to retire Buffalo Bill, but Minnesota Vikings fans are going to tweet at him. He could tweet, great day today, sunshine shining, birds are chirping, all that. And somebody is going to say, yeah, Justin Jefferson's better than you, though. Like, it is literally like that man can't tweet anything without Vikings fans having an attitude with him. So he definitely, his career here died a villain.